Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel. Thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Rolex Oyster Perpetual GMT-Master 2, reference 16710T. You can see and you can purchase this late GMT-Master 2 5-digit on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional high resolution images, accessories included in the sale, and of course complete pricing information for this Pepsi bezel GMT. Now, in a lot of ways, this watch represents the evolution of the species at peak. To use TV terminology, many would say that the GMT Master 2 jumped the shark after this particular model and its combination of assets, aesthetic and technical. Now, I'm not going to opine on the 5-digit versus 6-digit references. I'm simply going to unpack what makes this one special, should it particularly tickle your inclinations with respect to Rolex, bidirectional rotating bezels, dual times, and pilot's watches. Now, the timepiece is 40 millimeters across the round of the case, not including the crown guard or the crown. Very traditional in profile. You'll note the absence of the super case that succeeded it with the GMT Master 2C. Now, it's also important to note that the watch is quite slim, only 12 millimeters in profile. Even with the outward cantilever of the bidirectional rotating pilot's bezel, this is an easy watch to slide underneath dress cuffs or sleeves, so it works well if you do want to dress it up. Now, it's also important to note that it's fairly compact, not being the super case. From lug to lug, 47.5 millimeters, but note, this example features some of the later evolutions within the 16710 family, including solid end links, which came online in 2000. You'll note that they do add a little bit of lateral span to the watch, such that the true lug-to-lug measurement, if you want to measure extremities across the wrist, is actually 50.5 millimeters. So it has a broad stance that's missing in some of the pre-2000 GMT Master 2s and GMT Masters. It has a solid feel on the wrist, but of course we are talking a more traditional Rolex bracelet feel, a little bit lighter, a little bit, in most respects, more vintage in the impression it gives you. Now, that comes from the stamped out clasp and the hollow center links. So again, it has more of that 1960s, 70s, 80s Rolex feel to it rather than the new fully milled clasp, all solid link bracelets. Now, the bracelet itself is notable because it's in outstanding condition, and the crown on the clasp always tells the tale. You can see it hasn't been sanded down to the aesthetic of a pebble in a stream. Moreover, this particular bracelet, which is the 78790A, is stamped CL, so it's effectively the same year as this F-Series serial number GMT Master 2. Now, it's important to note that after the 5-digit references were discontinued, the Pepsi bezel, as seen here, was effectively put out to pasture with the sole exception of the expensive, and not just mildly so, but exorbitantly expensive white gold GMT Master 2 ceramic. Now, that's a watch that recaptures much of this aesthetic, but in a sensibility that just doesn't feel as utilitarian as this timepiece, which is the true and direct heir of those originally designed for Pan Am during the 50s. Now, just because this one is a little bit more vintage in its feel and look doesn't mean that it's behind the times. In a lot of ways, this is the combination of everything that you want in a GMT Master 2. You'll note F-Series, it no longer has the perforated lugs. There are no lug holes. That was done away with in 2003. As mentioned, this one does have the solid end link bracelet, a feature of the post-2000 GMT Master 2s. Moreover, you'll note all of the modern standards: 100-meter water resistance, sapphire crystal, super luminova dial that will never fade and stop luminescing. Of course, you have that Pepsi bezel, and this one in extraordinarily good condition. No scratches, no scuffs, no gouging. Bidirectional as ever, with very smooth action. It has the 3186 chronometer caliber inside, which does feature the second time zone originally introduced in 1983 on the first of the GMT Master 2s. Now, you can see easy adjustment of the local hour hand without stopping the balance or affecting the isochronism, but when you pull it to extremity, you do hack the watch. It has that feature, and now all of the hands move in sync. Of course, being a GMT Master 2, if you set the 24-hour hand to Greenwich Mean Time, you can then offset from GMT using the bezel to temporarily find 3 simultaneous time zones. Now, of course, the watch is somewhere between the realm of true vintage and modern-day Rolex hardware, so it has the charming feel and the look and the size of a traditional Rolex GMT-Master without the bulk that some people regret on the 6-digit case. In a lot of ways, this one is just right for the traditionalist who doesn't want to deal with the sometimes finicky, sometimes fragile, sometimes idiosyncratic features of a true vintage watch. Now, this is a handsome watch, but in every respect, like I said, it is a modern timepiece, right down to the caliber inside, which meets all of the latest Rolex standards. It has a 4 Hz beat rate, it hacks, it has the second time zone, it features a handmade Breguet overcoil hairspring for resistance to gravity or positionally induced timing deviation. It does have that 100-meter water resistance and a full balance bridge, not a single-sided balance cock. Of course, it is free-sprung for exceptional resistance to shock-induced timing variation, and a COSC certified chronometer. This is a chronometer that you can fly with. Ever a favorite of pilots and aviation enthusiasts, this generation of Rolex GMT-Master is rapidly becoming something of a collectible, beginning to pique the interest of Rolex vintage enthusiasts as well. Get ahead of the curve and see this one on our website.